Finally, the last topic that's going to be covered is the issue of women's marriage and inheritance rights. Now, before we start to talk about the actual specific case of Uganda, just in general, customary versus formal law in Africa, in many African countries, has shown that there is a stronger belief that men should be the ones inheriting land because they are the supposed leaders of the family, they're the ones that will be able to farm the land, etc., etc. And this comes into a bigger debate of customary versus formal law, because although customary law would have men being the inheritors of all of the land and all of these assets, formal law provides the right for women to inherit these lands if their husbands were to be deceased, if their parents were deceased and they don't have any male siblings, etc. So women in Uganda specifically are protected by formal law. They do have the right to inherit this land. However, the bias of the customary law and the bias of the people living within these societies, which is essentially constituted by the fact that they believe that the men should be the ones inheriting the land, this is where the problem lies. Now, it's not an issue of structure, because often African countries will be criticized in that saying that the existence of customary law versus formal law is in itself problematic. However, I disagree in that I think that we should allow room for some customary laws because the people know how to best govern themselves. So it's not an issue of structure, but rather the issue of the bias behind the structure. The Ugandan government is implementing policy changes to further protect women and children from these injustices, and one of the national land policy that the Ugandan government is currently developing is hoped to provide opportunities to address the challenges aforementioned. Now, even though the government is making these efforts, I think the real issue and the real effort needs to be focused on bridging the gap between these two legal systems so that women don't fall into this gray area of being able to officially claim for their rights but not having that kind of legitimacy when faced with a local council court.